Welcome, you beautiful people. We have football this Sunday. As you can tell, I'm very tired. We are just now waking up, but we are going to go through. We are going to answer all the questions that y'all can ask us. And yeah, be excited to do so, and more so excited to hopefully watch Jalen Waddle drop 30 points in Spain because your boy really does need it. Now, let's go ahead. Let's check out this first team. It's going to be from P. Diddy. It says currently 6-4. Highest points scored. One move I was thinking of getting is Chase and Judkins for Cook and Igbuka. A deal like this, I'd prefer Chase and Judkins. Just classic 2-for-2 swap where we're giving up the second and third best player, but we're getting back the best one in return. But don't know how much better my team would get. I know my team is nice, but I'll do any move that will make my team better. So here's going to be the thing, man. It's going to be tough to make your team better. Again, you've scored the most points in your league, as you've already mentioned. We can go ahead. We can look at the actual rankings according to the league analyzer. You are number 1 at running back, number 1 at wide receiver, number 3 at quarterback, number 8 at tight ends. Looking at some of the trades that you've done, you've gone through and you traded away James Cook, Calvin Ridley for Quinshon Judkins and Jalen Waddle. And we didn't have a ton of depth before this move, so I understand it. And you also traded away Nico Collins for Devonta Smith and Jordan Addison. This one I do not like. This one I definitely would have rather had Nico Collins. But let's go through and let's dive into each position now. We have Jalen Hurts at quarterback. You can start Jalen Hurts every single week, regardless of the matchup, right? No stress there whatsoever. Jackson Dart is our quarterback too. I would say if you could sell Dart and get a tremendous amount of value, you would. But that's going to be easier said than done. But obviously, you don't need to start Jackson Dart ever if you are rolling with Jalen Hurts. Now, you are probably going to have to wait for Jackson Dart to come back next week before you would look to make a move like that. Going over to running back, you have 2 legit running back ones with McCaffrey, James Cook. So I like it. You have Amari and Hampton here for the long-term build at running back. Now, obviously, if you weren't a playoff team, I'd be a little bit concerned about what your running back room looks like right now. But knowing that you're 6-4 and you've scored the most points in your league, like, yeah, you're going to have to deal with the McCaffrey week 14 bye, but is it really going to matter? Because, I mean, you'll have Hampton back by that point. And going over to receiver, you already have Puka through the bye. You have Igbuka through the bye, and you have Nico Collins. Actually, so these trades, you did get the other end. You got Nico Collins, you got James Cook, and Calvin Ridley. Actually, so that is perfect in my mind. So you've been selling the depth and getting the best player in the deal, which is actually what I would prefer, knowing that this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So the depth is not going to be incredibly important. So if I were looking at making a deal with your team, what I would be wanting to do is I would want to try to find a way to upgrade our tight end position. We're at tight end right now. You are sitting with the combination of Colson Loveland and Zach Ertz, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Don't get me wrong. But if there was somewhere to upgrade, it would be tight ends. Couple different ways you can go about doing this. Look at a team that maybe would be wanting an upgrade with their quarterback position and try to send them a player like Jackson Dart. Or if there's any way this team here, you could send them Jackson Dart, Colson Loveland, and get to Tyler Warren, where they already have Trey McBride, it'd be a no-brainer. I mean, even if you would go through and throw in Tyler Algier, if you could go like Dart, Algier, and Colson Loveland and get yourself Tyler Warren, it would be beautiful. The other team that could possibly use some help at quarterback, this team is Herbert and Stroud. If you wanted to try to go ahead and send them Jackson Dart to get an upgrade inside your starting lineup, you could potentially try to go ahead and send them the combination of like Jackson Dart and Tyler Algier for RJ Harvey and see if there's any shot that they would be willing to make a move like that. And this team has Jordan Love at quarterback. If you wanted to try to send them the combination of like Jackson Dart and, I know this was the Chase team you're talking about. You're saying sending Chase and Judkins for Cook and Igbuka. What I would maybe try here instead is if you could go like Dart and Igbuka to get to Chase, I think that would be very interesting. But you could go through and you could make that Chase deal if you really wanted. But as things stand, you definitely have the best team in this league. If there was a move to be made, I think it's trading for a better tight ends. Another thing that I've seen other people do this week that, again, may be much easier said than done, but I've seen people be able to sell Tyler Algier to the Bijan Robinson owner for an upgrade inside their starting lineup. If you wanted to try to offer like Tyler Algier and Jalen Hurts for Josh Allen and see if the Bijan owner would accept, I would try that move as well. So there are some levers that you can pull. There are some moves that you could make, but honestly, the team that you have right now is incredible. Like if you were to redraft today, you probably have 5 top 2 round picks, right? Which obviously puts you in a very, very good position. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Now let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be from Mike. It says, can this team win a championship or should I try to trade for an elite player? I tried Rico, Trevion, and Rome for Puka and it got rejected. Okay. I would say the majority of the time, if you're going to go through and trade for a Puka Nacua, like it's impossible to overpay. But honestly, this is like a very reasonable price. If you offered Rico, Trevion, and Rome for Puka and it got rejected, it's tough for you to go much higher than that. I'm starting to think I can just sit on this team. It's a 10-team half PPR format. Okay, so this is our bench right here. Our bench, we have RJ Harvey, Rome Odunze, Jaden Daniels. Our starting lineup, we are sitting with Lamar, Dowdle, Trevion, Jamar Chase, Igbuka, Brock Bowers, Chase Brown. So this team is straight up incredible. We are currently, this is a 10-team league. We are 4th in the league standings. We've scored the 3rd most points in this league. But you can't really get better at quarterback. You can't really get better at tight ends. Like, technically, I have Josh Allen ahead of Lamar. Technically, I have Trey McBride ahead of Brock Bowers. But majority of the time, it's not going to be worth it for me to tell you, yeah, let's go through and let's trade Lamar plus to get to Josh Allen, right? Like those positions, you know you're sitting still. So the main question you would have is there any expendable value down here on the bench that we could trade to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup? And yeah, you have Jaden Daniels, you have Rome Odunze, you have RJ Harvey on your bench. So you do have a lot of expendable value here if you were wanting to go and get that true stud. What I would try to do is similar to a deal that you offered for Puka Nacua, where I would be trying to send like Rome Odunze in a 2-for-1 deal to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup. RJ Harvey in a 2-for-1 deal to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup. Like if you could, especially now that RJ Harvey is a viable start rest of season with J.K. Dobbins going on the IR, if you could possibly try to sell the combination of like Rome Odunze and Chase Brown, I would send that offer out for the wide receivers like obviously Puka Nacua, which that team already rejected. But I would go for the other wide receivers in that tier as well, such as Jackson Smith and Jigba, as well as Jamar Chase. And then I would also be willing to go a tier down as well to a wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb, just because you are straight up stacked, right? Like where if you were to sell Chase and Rome Odunze, Chase Brown, that is, and Rome Odunze and get to CeeDee Lamb, it makes your starting lineup better, sacrifices a little bit of depth, but you'll still have a player like RJ Harvey on your bench for that depth. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. overall, you have absolutely an incredible team, and there's not going to be much that we could say with this, to be honest. But let's move this over to our next one. That's going to be Mario Mon, half PPR, start 7, third place home league. Been in the finals the past 2 years and lost. Very strong team and looking to get better and get the championship. Got offered Bijan for London and Etienne or Harvey, with Dobbins going to the IR. In general, I've seen a lot of people trading for Bijan Robinson this week. And most of the deals I have preferred the Bijan Robinson side with value. This is one of the rare spots that I would say it's maybe a little tough to say that. Also spoke for Javonte and Jefferson swap. Feels like I could be stronger. Just want advice. Thank you. Thank you, my guy. Well, here's the thing. You are the number one team in this league. We have the second best tight end room, the third best wide receiver room, the best running back room, and the sixth best quarterback room. There's not a single position that you are weak with this squad. Like quarterback, you're able to start Jalen Hurts every week through the rest of the season. I know Jalen Hurts this past week had a tough matchup. Jalen Hurts this week has a tough matchup. But then we finally get some games like the Dallas Cowboys, the Chicago Bears, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Commanders. Like the schedule does really lighten up through the rest of the season here for Hurts. Running back, we have the elite RB1 with Jonathan Taylor. The only concern that you'd possibly have is he's not through his bye week, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, that's not really going to matter much for you. Because for you, you're 7-3. We're just thinking for the playoffs, right? You scored the second most points in this league. Oh, brutal that the guy has scored the most points in this league's 4-6. It's pretty funny. But we have the depth of RJ Harvey as well as Travis Etienne. Going over to receiver, we have Lamb, London, Devontae Adams. Oh, so this isn't a Javonte Jefferson swap. This is a Devontae Adams and Jefferson swap. For me, I would 100% swap Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson. I know that Devontae Adams has been better than Jefferson so far this season from a points per game perspective. Right now, Adams is the wide receiver 7. But I do think that you are going to have a lot of positive touchdown regression for Justin Jefferson rest of season. And then tight end, we have the combination of Tyler Warren as well as Colston Loveland. And then as we go over to the waiver wire, like there are solid quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, but you're never going to start Caleb Williams over Jalen Hurts. So you are better off just rostering the premium handcuff running backs like Blake Corum than you would be rostering a quarterback like Caleb Williams just because he has value, right? Especially knowing that it's not like you're going to be able to trade him after he pops because, I mean, he has popped over the past few weeks and nobody decided to pick him up off the waiver wire. While at the same time, Jackson Dart's out there on the waiver wire as well. So nobody's really going to think, oh, yeah, I need to go through and trade for Caleb Williams now if they can just go pick up Dart for free. So overall, I love your team. And there's not much I would do. I would do the Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson swap. I would rather have Jefferson myself. And then from that point, if you could send Romeo Doubs and RJ Harvey or Romeo Doubs and Travis Etienne and get to an upgrade at running back, I would. Or honestly, if you could send Devontae Adams and Travis Etienne and go ahead and get Bijan Robinson, I would make that move. It's just maybe a little bit tough for me to tell you to go through and make that trade with with Drake London. Where, in my mind, I'd much prefer us going through and selling Devontae Adams instead. And then another slight thing that you could do if you don't sell Adams and Etienne for Bijan Robinson, if you wanted to offer like Romeo Doubs and Tyler Warren for Brock Bowers, you could look at doing that. But overall, I mean, you have an incredible team here, my friend. But I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, and I am very much rooting for you the rest of the way. Be brutal making a third finals and not winning it. Now, the Soaring Eagle, longtime member of the flock, decided to check this out. It's a 6-4 and currently in the playoffs. It is a super flex league where it sounds like you don't even have a... I could be wrong, but it looks like you don't have another flex. The league analyzer is saying it's a start 8 format. So I'm going to assume that you have another regular flex as well. We are looking for trades. So ignore the overall rankings with the league analyzer just because the overall rankings aren't going to correctly pull in the quarterback values. We should just look at how this team stacks up positionally. So we have the second most valuable quarterback room. We have Josh Allen, J.J. McCarthy, and then Kyler Murray is our QB3. So, I mean, obviously, Kyler, big letdown, but we're still A-okay. You can still go ahead and put McCarthy in your super flex spot. Obviously, start Josh Allen every single week with zero hesitation. Now, going over to running back, we are currently sitting with the combination of Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey, the two players that see the massive, massive spike in value at the very end of the season when you would naturally expect that it's going to come. So that's really nice to see. We have Chase Brown as quality depth. You have Kamani Vidal as well. I would say if this team should make a trade, it's that Kamani Vidal just gives you short-term production and not necessarily long-term value. And in my mind, you don't need short-term production. You have that plenty covered. So if you could go and find a team that really needs some running back help right now, and if you could potentially go ahead and send them Kamani Vidal with the wide receiver for a wide receiver upgrade, I think that would be very interesting. Like this team has Alvin Kamara, Jalen Warren, and Sean Tucker. I would offer them Kamani Vidal and Quentin Johnston for Jalen Waddle. I would offer them Kamani Vidal and Zay Flowers for Devontae Adams. I would offer them Kamani Vidal and Drake London for CeeDee Lamb. This team here is sitting with Kyren Etienne. They don't have any wide receiver production for us. I mean, obviously, if you could, you would sell Kamani Vidal and McCarthy for Jalen Hurts, but that's going to be much, much easier said than done. Okay. Then moving over to the next position will be wide receiver. We have London, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, Romeo Doubs, and Troy Franklin. So for me, a wide receiver room like this, you have so many options that Tez Johnson's never hitting your starting lineup. Like, I would opt to, instead of rostering Tez Johnson, to roster one of the premium handcuff running backs that if an injury were to go down in front of them, then all of a sudden they can turn into a potential league winner. So an example of that for me would be either Chuba Hubbard or Blake Corum. So I would drop Tez Johnson, pick up one of those running backs. And then going over to tight end, obviously we are A-okay with Tyler Warren rest of season. Colston Loveland for this week, plus potential rest of season upside if things were to play out in his favor. And then outside of that, I don't necessarily think that there's anything else with this team. I think you have a really good squad. I would just maybe roster one fewer wide receivers. And if you could potentially go out there and try to sell Kamani Vidal to get an upgrade at wide receiver, I think it would make a big, big difference. And then we roster an additional down-tiered running back to try to find the next Kamani Vidal. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Now, let me move over to the quick questions. These are going to be the trade questions, the start sit questions, and we can run with these until we get to the Spain kickoff, and then we can go back to what we need to. But this is the Italian Stallion. Says must win this week. Currently 5-5 in 7th. What's the safest options? Kittle's safer than Theo Johnson. And then in the flex, I guess it's Michael Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, or Bam Knight. Bam Knight is going to play this week. Can y'all please spam the chat? Who would you start? Please let me hear in the chat. Who are you putting in your lineup between Bam Knight, Michael Wilson, Jerry Jeudy? For the love of God, do not play Tyler Lockett. I guess you could. I would consider Theo Johnson before Tyler Lockett. Like, you could look at Theo Johnson if you really wanted. Yeah, we're going to get to injury updates when we get closer to the kickoff, just so we hopefully have some more information. We got Wilson, Jeudy, Wilson, Jeudy, Jeudy, Jeudy. Let me see what the projections are with them. Okay. Let's run through this quickly. Jerry Jeudy currently higher, lower, 40.5 receiving yards, higher, lower, 8.05 fantasy points. Michael Wilson is higher, lower, 47.5, higher, lower, 8.55 with a much higher probability of scoring a touchdown. So I have no strong take on this. If projections and chat say Michael Wilson, I'm A-okay going with Michael Wilson. Okay. Let's move this over to our next one. This is going to be Easy Eddie. And we'll make sure we move Michael Wilson ahead of Jerry Jeudy in our weekly rankings as well. Let me do that right now. Okay. Easy Eddie says, hey, thoughts on these choices? It's a double point PPR for every position but running back, where running back gets 1.5. So not a big difference there. Quarterback, I'm going to go Hurts over Caleb. Both have tough matchups. And then in the flexes, we are going to take Tedero McMillan and Jordan Addison pretty easily. Yeah, I think you can pretty easily bench Christian Watson as well as Colson Loveland there for the receivers, especially if the receivers get 2 points per reception. Okay, Bitter Hornet trading Bijan and Dowdle for Achane and Lamb. I think this is going to be a completely fair deal and up to you. You don't necessarily need a wide receiver. You don't necessarily need running back production. I will point out that both Devon Achane as well as Rico Dowdle still have to go through their bye week. So I do think it's just going to be up to you here, my friend. Now, Bijan versus Daniel Jones, Henderson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Here, I would opt to go with Daniel Jones, Henderson. Yeah, this is the team that you had with the Jaden Daniels injury. So, like, if you can pivot down from Bijan to Amon-Ra St. Brown and get Trevion Henderson on top and get Daniel Jones on top, I think that does make a lot of sense. Okay. Now, let's move this back over to our next question. It's going to be from Giant Alex, trading Jacobs and Trevion Henderson for Jonathan Taylor and Khalil Shakir. So Jonathan Taylor is the main piece here. I would say 14-team league, I completely understand a lot of people wanting to take the Josh Jacobs and Trevion Henderson side because the depth's going to matter more. But looking at your roster in particular, you have a loaded team. So you can afford to go out there and you can afford to just up tier to the best player in fantasy football with Jonathan Taylor. So honestly, if I were you, I'd go JT here. Okay. Now let's move over to our next question. This one's going to be Bitter Hornet again, trading Dowdle and Rice for Puka Nacua. I mean, you can afford it. I just want to do it. I mean, Rico Dowdle projects every week now at this point as a borderline top 5 running back. So you are paying a hefty price if you are making this move. Okay. Now, Bitter Hornet Trading says, want to hold on to Bijan. What are your thoughts on moving him? I would say the majority of Bijan trades that I've seen in the live streams this week, I've preferred the Bijan Robinson side. I think right now, this is a tough time to be selling Bijan after he got vultured multiple times last Sunday. This type of deal, Bijan to JSN, give me JSN, James Cook and Rashaad Rice, up to you. So I think this is a fair deal for Bijan Robinson. But I still want to be on the record. Bijan's a top 5 running back for me pretty easily. He's still an elite player in fantasy. And I see we had 100 likes on the stream. We're going to be giving out a ton of free questions when we hit 200. That's what we've been doing over the past few live streams. That way we can just get through these questions a little bit quicker rather than having to stop more often. Baylene's trading Henry, Metcalf, Brian Thomas for Gibbs and George Pickens. Yeah, this is a no-brainer for me. Gibbs, different tier than Derrick Henry. Pickens, different tier than Metcalf. Brian Thomas, just the wide receiver 3 for me rest of season. So I very easily be willing to throw him in to get this deal done. Now, Wowie here for the flex. Let me look what the projections have for Kenneth Walker. We just pulled that up with Michael Wilson where they have him higher, lower, 8.5 fantasy points. Kenneth Walker is higher, lower, 7.85. Higher, lower, 53.5 total yards. So like my peanut brain sees this question and I go, oh yeah, I would want to put Kenneth Walker in my starting lineup, until you realize that this dude is this season a straight up bum. He's the RB29 averaging 10.1 fantasy points per game. That includes a game in there in which Zach Charbonnet didn't play. So with that in mind, like, I probably got to tell you to go ahead and take Michael Wilson. It sucks. Like, I don't want to sit here and act like Michael Wilson is some exciting start by any means just because Marvin Harrison's missing. But it's like, I think you just got to go with him because the alternative sucks. Okay. Now, Baylene's here at running back. Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, RJ Harvey. I'm going to go Henry in a tough matchup. Wide receiver, Metcalf in a beautiful matchup. And then in the flex, we will go with RJ Harvey in a tough matchup. Now, Reed says, Caleb or Rogers, flex is a mess. I don't know what to do with Brown. The Pittsburgh Steelers project to score significantly more points than the Chicago Bears this week. So I understand the thought process and wanted to go through and consider Aaron Rodgers over Caleb Williams, but Caleb's going to run the ball more. I mean, I think in general, the Chicago Bears are going to throw the ball more as they are dogs in this game. So I probably would go ahead and I probably would still play Caleb Williams. Then going over to running back, you're going to play Chase Brown, Derrick Henry. And then in the flex, I think you play either Devonta Smith or DeAndre Swift. Can y'all please spam the chat? Who would you start in the flex? Would you go Swift or Smith? Swift or Smith? Please let me know in the live chat. What direction would you go in? We got Smith. Benjamin says, my flock hat came in the mail this week. Thanks, Mason. Appreciate you, my guy. I'm super happy to hear that you got that. And yeah, please, everybody, if you have gotten or when you get that free hat that we did in that giveaway, we're still averaging like 100 hats shipped out a day right now. like it spends all my free time. My fiance and I are shipping out hats. Please let me know in the live chat, because we're averaging like 100 hats that we send out a day, and I probably hear from 2 people a day that they got their hats. So I'm not going to lie to you. It's a little bit scary. Smith. It does look like the vast majority of people are on Devonta Smith over DeAndre Swift. So I think you run with it. Oh, yes. Ramen Gods has got my hat. I've worn it for this whole week. Love to hear it, my friend. I really appreciate you. And yeah, please, everyone, when you get your hat, perfect. Isaac got his as well. Happy to hear it. Chris got his. Awesome. Just wanted to make sure that they are actually getting there because, again, little bit scary. Now, sure fun trading away James Cook in a 4th for future first Matthew Golden in a 3rd. This is a very fair price tag, assuming that this is a rebuilding team. Looking at the team, it looks like it's probably a rebuilding team. So, yeah, I would go ahead and do this unless that first rounder is like guaranteed to be a bottom 3 pick or a bottom 4 pick. But as long as that pick's going to be in a respectable range, then yeah, I think you go ahead and you make this deal. Okay. Now, BLX here for the flex spot. We're looking at Derrick Henry or A.J. Brown. For me, it's very easily Derrick Henry. I know it's a tough matchup, but don't know how the hell I could tell you to start A.J. Brown over him. Now, Jordan, with our next question here. For the flex, it's Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, or like you have no Wilson, you have no Taylor, you have no Godwin, you have no Reed, you have no Juwan Johnson. It's Greg Dulcich, which I don't even know if he's doing anything. Last year, he averaged less than 1. Why is he on your team? If Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is active, I think you have to play Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt over Greg Dulcich, but I would assume that there's a better option on the waiver wire that you could find than freaking Greg Dulcich. Now, our next one's going to be from Super Seb, trading Barkley Adams for Bijan Robinson. 10 team, 2 receiver, 1 flex. I would trade maybe Ladd with Barkley. I don't know if I'd trade Adams, though. But, I mean, in general, you have the depth where you can make a move like that. Now, Bitter Hornet trading Jones, Sutton, Tyler, Warren for Bijan and Algier. 100% I'd go get Bijan there. LeBarnes here down on the bench. Our best name right now is Devontae Adams, and Quinshon Judkins is there. I would take out Devonta Smith and I would put in Devontae Adams. 100%. Hope I'm wrong. Drafted a ton of Devonta Smith in Underdog Best Ball drafts. Didn't draft much Adams. So, hope I'm wrong, but yeah, I would play Adams over Smith at this point. Now, LeBarnes, our best option on the bench is RJ Harvey. I'd play RJ Harvey over Tetero McMillan. I know it's a tough matchup, but not that bad of an offense and good player as well. Now, Meister Lachi here at quarterback between Rodgers and Goff. I'm going to go Rodgers. The Steelers project to score like 5 more points than the Lions this week. And then the 2 flex spots, I'm going to go Judkins and RJ Harvey. Let me see. What are the projections on Rashaad White this week? I know everybody is in on Sean Tucker over Rashaad White. I don't know if I'm just not smart enough and I'm missing something. Like, Rashaad White's higher lower is 62.5 total yards. Sean Tucker is higher lower 45.5 total yards. Underdog also has Rashaad White more likely to score the touchdown. Can y'all please let me know in the live chat? Because I obviously read y'all's messages. I read y'all's comments. And I see a lot of people asking questions about Sean Tucker. Where the hell is this Sean Tucker hype coming from? Why do people think they can? I know this team doesn't have Sean Tucker. We're not even telling them to start Rashaad White. This is just a complete side tangent. But why the hell do people think that they can start Sean Tucker all of a sudden? Like, is there somebody coming through making videos telling people to start Sean Tucker? Is that what it is? Dilesk says he was used as the number one back this past week. Rashaad White played 72% of the snaps this past week. Who possibly told you that Sean Tucker was used as the number one running back this past week? Legitimate question. Who told you that? Because it seems like a lot of people that have that idea. And unless our stats are wrong on flockfantasy.com, which I don't see how they would be, Rashaad White played 72% of the snaps. Rashaad White had 15 opportunities, including 5 targets. Dilesk, it doesn't matter if you watch the game or not, my guy. Sean Tucker didn't lead the backfield with, let me pull up what percentage of snaps Sean Tucker played. Let's see this. Yeah, Sean Tucker didn't lead the backfield with 32% of the snaps or with 11 opportunities compared to Rashaad White with 72% and 15 opportunities. I'm not saying Rashaad White's any good whatsoever. Just saying I don't know how people think Sean Tucker's startable. Bryce says I'm hearing all the hype too, and I have no idea why. Like, I don't know where it's coming from. I legitimately don't understand it. Now, John says, saw you couldn't see my team last night on the live. Not sure who to go with here. Quarterback equals Bills, weather, Denver defense. Flex, Bam, or Cato have more upside. Okay, what is going on here, my friend? We're currently sitting with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. You need to go through and sell one of these quarterbacks for an elite flex option. So right now, projections do prefer Allen over Mahomes. Let me go on flockfantasy.com real quick and see what the implied team totals are here for these guys. Okay, implied team total for Josh Allen is 26.5 points. So the Bills are supposed to score a few more points than the Chiefs. Josh Allen in general typically runs more than Mahomes. Sportsbooks are baking in, obviously, the weather. They have that information like everybody else. While at the same time, underdog projections have Josh Allen over Mahomes as well. So with all those factors, I'd probably go Allen over Mahomes. And then down in the flex, I would go Tez Johnson over the Arizona backs, to be honest. But let me send you over a free start sit question. I'm sorry if something happened last night, my guy. Okay. Now let's go over to our next question. Nico and Nix. Here, quarterback, you have Lamar and Herbert. I think Caleb's been great, but ultimately he's been living off phenomenal matchups. A running back in flexes, it doesn't really matter who you put in a running back, who you put in a flex, because we know we're going to be starting all these guys. You're going to put in Dowdle, you're going to put in Chase Brown. Wide receiver, you're going to start. You have no Marv. Oh, dear God. I may put in Addison, to be honest, given the matchup. And then for the flex, I'm just going to play the running backs. They're going to receive volume. I'm going to play Woody Marks. And then I know, actually, never mind. I was going to, you can flex both tight. You can flex a tight end here over Rashaad White if you want. You can go with Gadsden at the flex spot. Yoing says, did Mason get the Jeep Gladiator that he was going to buy? I don't even know what a Jeep Gladiator is. I know I told you all last week that we were going to go test drive cars. Oh, this is the Jeep truck. I'm not going to lie. I really like the Jeep truck. I actually may want to go test drive a Jeep truck. I know people hate them, but hey, they look like they're running a deal or something. They look like they're $10,000. If y'all don't know, I'm having car problems. So I've never bought a new car before, but we're looking at it now. And yeah, it looks like there are deals being run with these things. I'm assuming, I know nothing about cars, but I'm assuming a Jeep truck wouldn't be known for its reliability, huh? Honestly, I like this idea. I like this idea, my friend. But anyway, JJ says, I work at a Jeep dealer, and dude, they're really nice. I may go try. Okay, we got unreliable. They break down constantly. Jeep holds value well. Yeah, I had been looking at a Toyota. I think I told y'all this. I've never bought a car before. I'm, in general, very cheap. But, one, y'all have supported the live streams to an insane amount this year. So now I don't have to be nearly as cheap as I used to be because of y'all, which obviously I owe everything to y'all. I really appreciate y'all. But whenever my fiance was working on Happy Gilmore 2 and we were in LA, whenever I was running, I saw them filming a Lexus GX commercial. And ever since I saw that, I was like, oh, I want one of these. They're so damn expensive, but that's what I want. And I made an appointment to test drive them. To test drive one of them on Monday. Because everything I've researched, supposedly it's like the most reliable car you could possibly buy. But also, you can't get one without having to order it like 4 to 6 months in advance. And my car is about to break down right now. So, and then I was looking at a Toyota Land Cruiser too, and I know nothing about cars. And a Land Cruiser is also super freaking expensive. Like Lexus GX is very expensive, don't get me wrong, but it's not that much more than a Land Cruiser. And I've watched, of course, 1,000 YouTube breakdowns, like 1,000 different YouTube car people talking about these. And I know nothing about engines or blah, 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 but they pretty much all say that like the Lexus GX is just the Land Cruiser with a much better engine. That's going to be more reliable. So, but I can get a Land Cruiser sooner. And again, I don't know how much longer my current car is going to last. My car's like 15 years old. Okay. Teresa says, do not tell the salesperson you've never purchased a car. I think with, if I end up balling out and doing the Lexus, that you have to order like 4 to 6 months in advance. I don't even think, of course, this is what my parents told me. I have no freaking idea. But when the cars are like that low on supply and I would have to order it like 6 months in advance, I don't even think you can negotiate with them. I think you just have to pay MSRP. I could be wrong. But let's move this over. Hayden says, where are the quarterback rankings? They are on the website, my friend. I'm sorry. We did not get the time to live stream that. Gin says, correct. Yeah, I would assume I can't negotiate on it. I did. My mom is coming into town, though, and I told her that my mom's obviously a very nice lady, and she said she would go. And not buy the car with me. I'd spend my own money on the car, but she would go and like do the car transaction for me if I just told her what car I want. Okay. All right. Let's go over to our next one. GT007. Running back, we got Jacobs as the auto start. I would go probably with Woody Marks here as well in a good matchup against Tennessee. Wide receiver, we're going to go Jefferson, Rice, Egbuka in the flex. And then tight end, we have McBride. This is an incredible team. Now, Nazarian, here between Judy and DJ Moore, I'd probably play Jerry Judy this week. DJ Moore just does not see consistent target volume. B. Henley, he sees consistent volume of 5 targets a game, but you don't have any ceiling with the targets. Okay. Now, B. Henley, between Daniel Jones, and Joe Flacco, you only have one of these quarterbacks that's going to play this week. That is Flacco. You're going to start Devonta. Actually, I'd start Jefferson over Adams at wide receiver. Tight ends, you have A.J. Barner. Laporta's on the IR. And then we're going to go ahead. We're going to play. Oh, dear God. You have great names. I think you actually have to bench T. Higgins, Rome Odunze, as crazy as that sounds. I think you got to play Adams and Rice. But I would try to send Rome and get an upgrade at tight end now that you have Laporta on the IR. Okay. Dennis says no last-minute rankings this week based on the latest underdog projections. Greetings from Germany and good luck this week. Good luck this week, my friend. I wanted to do it, and I was planning on doing the last-minute rankings updates with the underdog projections. But to be completely honest, my fiance and I went to a Friendsgiving with Sal and his friend group yesterday. And I thought I was going to be home by a reasonable time, and I got home very late. And I had to choose between, do I do the last-minute rankings projections or do I do the question and answer live stream? And because people had bought questions on the site, it was like, I kind of got to do that. Kind of got to answer those questions for those fine people. Now, this from Frenchman. Here you go, Josh Allen over McCarthy very easily. You play Gibbs and actually Taylor's on bye. I'm sorry. You play Gibbs and Bam Knight at running back. Wide receiver, you go Waddle, who I'm very excited to see in 30 minutes. I'm starting him myself. Should be a really good spot. Play Jamison Williams as well with no Laporta. Tight end, you're going to play Hawkins. Actually, you're going to play Loveland. You may go Hawkins in the flex, though, because you have no Terry. Kendrick Bourne's already played. You're going to play Michael Wilson. And then it's between DJ Moore and TJ Hawkinson. Which I think you go ahead and honestly, you probably take DJ Moore. Okay. Lesko says, Laporta is sitting under tight end 7 for the expert ranks. Yeah. My friend, I'm going to be honest with you, Chief. Laporta got announced on the IR about 14 hours ago. While I may be a psychopath and I may live on the internet and update my rankings every little second with every little piece of news, it does take the other creators maybe a day to update their rankings, their rest of season ranks. Some other creators have kids, my friend. They're not going to run to the site the second that news breaks on Saturday to update their rest of season rank with Laporta. Just give them at least a day or two to do that. You can sort by my rankings if you want, and you can see where I have them ranked. Now, Zach, here, you have actually really good options. I would play Egbuka for sure at wide receiver. And then for the flex, it comes down to Devontae Adams or Chase Brown. Let me see what the projections have this as. Honestly, I think you'd be fine either way. Especially if you already started Trevion Henderson. You're more so looking for the floor here rather than the ceiling with Henderson in your lineup. And if you're looking for the floor rather than the ceiling, and this is a half PPR format, I probably go ahead and take Chase Brown. So I think I go Brown. Now, JP 2016, quarterback. You have no Daniels, you have no Dart. It's Purdy or Flacco. Probably go Flacco given the matchup and what we saw last time they played. But I could 100% be wrong there. Now, Lewis coming through. Quarterback, McCarthy or Purdy. I'm going to go Brock Purdy. McCarthy has really good projections, though. And then for the flex, we're going to play Ricky Pearsall. You have no Marvin. You have no Brian Thomas this week. Now, John here at wide receiver, you play Buka pretty easily. Tight end, you play Kittle. And then there in the flex, I'm going to play Kamani Vidal over Gadsden, but Gadsden would be your next best option. Now, C-Man with our next question here. I think I'm playing Worthy as well as Khalil Shakir over Demercado, but I understand Worthy's averaging fewer than 10 points per game this season. He's been absolutely atrocious. And maybe I'm just a little bit biased because, one, obviously, hook 'em horns. And two, I drafted this freaking bum in so many underdog best ball drafts. Okay. Now, Jay Swansig is trading Harvey, Pickens, and A.J. Brown for Puka Nacua. Leftover at running back, you'd have Gibbs, Warren, Brees, Vidal. Wide receiver, we'd have Ladd, Puka, Debo, Shakir. I think I would make this move because this is a 10-team league where in that 10-team format, realistically, you should be able to go through and pick up 2 respectable names off the waiver wire with the 2 open roster spots that you have. So I'd be fine going ahead and getting the best player in the deal, especially knowing that you're not going to be screwed at running back after. So I would go ahead and get Puka Nacua here. But it's tough telling somebody to trade away RJ Harvey, though, where Harvey does look like he could be a league winner. Now, playoff Vin, happy to see you. Here, if we are looking at our best option at running back for the flex, I don't even know who it would be because wide receiver is going to be so much more compelling. It's going to be Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith. But Waddle has some of the best projections of any wide receiver this week and a really good matchup against the Commanders here in about 30 minutes. So over under this game, surprisingly high. There should be a decent amount of points scored. I'm starting Jalen Waddle myself, and honestly, I'm pretty excited to do so as well. Okay. So let's move this to our next question, which is going to be from Jay Panda. Here at wide receiver, between Pearsall and Wandale, I'm going to go Wandale. And then for the flex, I'm going to go with Woody Marks over Pearsall, knowing that he has that really good matchup against Tennessee. Okay, now, Serdanda, here for the flex, it's Aaron Jones, Jamo, or Aronde Gadsden. I would actually probably go Gadsden. Jameson Williams has been great over the past 2 weeks, and honestly, it looks like it's actually going to be a good spot for him into the future as well, because you don't have Sam Laporta, so all of a sudden targets are going to be a little bit easier to come by. But Gadsden has just been incredible since he's taken over starter. Obviously got injured this past week, but the 4 weeks prior, he had at least 10 fantasy points every week with a spike of 29. Now, Jay Dollar trading away Etienne as well as Trevion Henderson for Ashton Genty. I do have Genty ahead of Trevion Henderson rest of season. I'm going to be honest, if Ramondre was out rest of season, I'd rather have Trevion Henderson, but I'm a little bit concerned that Trevion is going to lose a little work to Ramondre Stevenson once Ramondre is back. But paying Etienne's a decent price with this. You don't have a crazy amount of running back depth. I know it's a 10-team, 2-receiver, 1-flex format, so generally you want to get the best player in the deal. But I don't know how much better Ginty is than Trevion Henderson rest of season. So honestly, I think I would probably prefer Trevion Henderson and Travis Etienne. If I was trading Trevion and Etienne, I think I would shoot for a better running back than Ginty. Now, Saki Boy says, Nico and Cook for Bijan also offered, doubting either. I would rather have Nico and James Cook over Bijan, and I'd rather have James Cook and Trevion Henderson over Bijan as well. Don't get me wrong, I still think Bijan's the best player in that deal, but I don't know how big the gap is between Bijan and James Cook personally. Now, profit's profit here for running back. You're going to play Aaron Jones. Wide receiver, you're playing Debo, Tetero, and McMillan. Tight ends, we have no Tyler Warren, so you play Cade Otton. And then there in the flex, we are going to go ahead and take Rashaad White. Sean Tucker definitely has a role, but I do believe that Rashaad White is the number one back there. Now, Tesda, wide receiver, we're going to go ahead. We will play Addison. Tight ends, we're going to go Dalton. No, I'll go Loveland for the upside. And then for the two flex spots, you have no Pittman. So I think you're playing Judy as well as Michael Wilson. And then I know Shaheed obviously is a compelling play as well. I would just like to see Shaheed run a full allotment of routes with this team before we would put him in our lineup. Okay, now Ramen God. Here for the flex, I would play Romadunse over Tetero, McMillan, and Sean Tucker easily. Now, Jake Ash says, just need a tight end to win. One first is a top 3 pick. So I'm going to let you know what the more valuable side is here, in my opinion. I think the more valuable side is going to be a top 3 rookie first and another first round pick on top of it. Where if you're going to get Olave too, the picks will be more valuable than Brock Bowers come this offseason. But if you think you win the league by making this deal, like if you do actually win the league, obviously the trade will be worth it. But I'm more so looking at it through the lens of like, oh, okay, well, if we end up losing in the semifinals, then you are going to kick yourself this offseason. So I want to make sure that I'm on the record saying that the picks are going to be worth more. But with that in mind, if you trade for Bowers and you get first place and that pays for your league dues for years to come, it would be the Bowers side. Now, Johnny is trading Gibbs and James Cook for Javonte, Chase Brown, Stephon Diggs, and Chris Olave. Gibbs is the best player in this deal. James Cook is the second best player in this deal. This is Gibbs and James Cook. I don't think it's that close. Even if you needed depth, I think you would need better wide receivers than Diggs and Olave, in my opinion. So I'm going to roll with the Gibbs and James Cook side. Now, GM Kala says, I'm struggling with flex wide receiver. Thanks, Mason. Thank you for always hanging out with us in the stream, my guy. We're going to go Pickens and Metcalf at wide receiver. Flex, we're going to play T. Higgins. And then this is when it gets a little difficult. It's like, oh, do you start Marks, A.J. Brown, or J-Mo? I would go with Woody Marks just because it is that really strong matchup that you have against the Tennessee Titans, where you should see a respectable amount of carries for the Houston Texans in the second half because they are heavily favored in this game. Okay. Now, let's go over to our next question. It's going to be from Clem F2K. Here for the flex between Pearsall, Trey Tucker, Aaron Jones. I probably go Aaron Jones in the good matchup, but you could go Pearsall, and honestly, I could kind of go back and forth between those guys. Natural says, here for the flex. Really appreciate you, my guy. Let me go ahead and send you over a free start set question. We're looking at Chase Brown versus Romadunse. For me, I think they give you a similar ceiling, but I think Chase Brown gives you a higher floor. I mean, this should be a really high-scoring game environment. At least that's what we saw the last time the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers played each other. We have the same thing this week with the over-under of this game being incredibly high. So, yeah, I would go ahead and I would plan on playing Chase Brown. Now, the Serb with our next one. Tight end between Loveland and Schultz. Like Schultz over the past few weeks has been decent. He's had 19 total targets. But so far this season, you're getting 10.5 fantasy points per game. It's a game against the Tennessee Titans, where I'd assume this is a team that's going to be able to run the ball in the second half. Maybe I'm just a sucker falling for the name brand appeal of Colson Loveland, but Loveland's usage has ticked up in a strong way. Obviously, he was playing 81% of the snaps when you had the Komet injury. But even since then, like over the past month, he's had at least 4 targets in every game. Can y'all please spam the chat? Who would you rather start? Would you rather start Loveland or Dalton Schultz this week? Are you going to go Loveland or Schultz? Loveland or Schultz? Please let me know. Okay. Let's see. Schultz, Loveland, Schultz, Loveland, Loveland, Schultz, Loveland, Schultz, Loveland, Schultz, 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 Loveland, Loveland, Loveland. Let me see what the projections are on Underdog for this. As this is just to be complete. I know maybe this makes me a fraud or blah, 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 but I'm just going to be honest with you, Chief. If it was my call, literally this is what would make it for me. If I was 50-50 on a question like this, I would literally look at the projections and go with what they say. They have Loveland higher lower 29.5 receiving yards. They have Schultz higher lower 35.5. So I'd see that and go, probably would rather have Schultz. Be different if I had any idea myself or if the live chat had some help here, but I think it's a true coin flip. All right, now this next question is from Clay V. Running back, I play Chase Brown here easily. And then for the flex, I think you can go with Kamani Vidal. I mean, he played like 90+% of the snaps this past week. Crazy, crazy usage. Big Route says, good morning, Mason. I'm trying to get back on track with the win. Need your help submitting a starting lineup. Appreciate you, my friend. You have no Tyreek. You have no Alec Pierce. Do we have a running back for the flex? No. So you're going to have to start 3 receivers here. I think you go Romeo Doubs. I would play Xavier Worthy because I'm an idiot. And then probably Tez Johnson now that you officially have no Godwin and you have no Bucky this week. And this is a game environment as well in which you probably have Tampa having to throw the ball at Buffalo, where they are pretty heavily they're heavy dogs in this. So it's tough. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Trey Tucker has an incredible matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, and you could see a 25-point Trey Tucker bomb 100%. Now, Real Papa Hunk trading Judkins and Igbuka for CD Lamb. I would say for a lot of people, this is going to be the Judkins and Igbuka side. But for your team specifically, your running back room's loaded, and it is an 8-team league. So because it is an 8-team league, then we go ahead and we take CD Lamb. But a normal fantasy football league, I think you would probably go Judkins and Igbuka. Here, 504s, our best option in the flex is probably going to be Michael Wilson. Actually, no, I'm an idiot. You have Tyrone Tracy. You go Tyrone Tracy for sure. Hate the matchup for Tyrone Tracy. Don't get me wrong. Not a good spot having to play against Green Bay. Phil, running back between Judkins, White, Etienne, Harvey. I think most weeks it's going to be, I don't even want to say most weeks. A lot of weeks it's going to be Harvey, but Harvey just has a tough matchup here. But in the flex, you for sure play Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's about to go nuts in about 15 minutes, which I'm excited for. Caesar, we have no Pierce. You play Tez Johnson here over Keon Coleman easily. And then in the flex, there are rumors that Keon Coleman's going to be a healthy scratch today. I don't know how true these rumors are. Have we seen anything else with Keon Coleman being a healthy scratch, ladies and gentlemen? Be on the lookout for that for sure. And you would have to play Chris Rodriguez if that will be the case. Actually, I'm an idiot. You play Tyler Algier. I'm sorry. Play Tyler Algier. Okay. But Zach Holt here, real quick. I'm going to go ahead and run to the bathroom. I'll be back in 1 second. And as soon as we're back, we're going to send out some free questions in the live chat. All right. I am sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and send out some free questions for y'all waiting. If you haven't already, if you want to qualify to win free questions, it is really simple. Just drop a like on the stream and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the live chat, and we will get those sent out. So let me first send this out to Over the Moon Films. Appreciate you hanging out with us as always, my friend. Over the Moon Films. See 2 accounts. Here we're going to send it to the one that asked a free question previously. So send this over now. Now let me send one out to Mark. Mark 600. Just found you. Thank you for hanging out with us in this live stream. Let's send one to Joe Zone. Just found you and just sent that bad boy over. Appreciate you hanging out with us. And let's send one out to Philly. Philly Leo. Just got you. Just sent you over a free start set question. Appreciate you hanging out with us as well. But let's pivot back over. Zach Cole says, need to pick 2, RGRV, King Hengry, or Ricky Pearsall. I would go with the running backs. The running backs that you know are the starters and going to get volume. Like, in general, I mean, that's what I always do with my own team too in the flex. Like if I have a running back that I know is going to be the guy that's going to get 15 plus opportunities, most of the time you're not going to be kicking yourself for putting that player in your lineup. Now, Keen, here at tight ends, I'm going to play Cade Otton over Harold Fannin as well as Loveland this week now that you officially have no Godwin and no Bucky. And then for the flex, you have no Taylor, no Marv, no Ayuk. Oh, dear God. You can put in, this is the one scenario, the singular spot that I would tell somebody to play Sean Tucker. And I'm not going to be excited to tell them that. You can do it for sure. Would I really want to? Probably not. But again, I think you can. Okay. So let's move this over to our next question. Hershey says, pick 2, Tez, Marks, Chase Brown, Sutton, and Romeo Doubs. I would be going with Woody Marks and Chase Brown between those guys. Again, if you get the opportunity to just go ahead and start 2 running backs with guaranteed workloads, you play them. Phoenix Lance, we're also getting this to be a 0.2 point per carry and half PPR. Wide receiver between Shakir and Sutton, it is relatively close. Probably go Sutton. And then I think I play Kareem Hunt over Kenneth Walker this week, considering what we have with Pacheco being out and the touchdown upside between the 2 backs. So yeah, give me Kareem Hunt. Now Phil says, Morning Mason, playing against Henderson might be fighting a losing battle. I'm 6-4. So we're shooting for the upside, right? Here's St. Brown is an auto start. Rice is an auto start. And then upside shot, I wouldn't play Debo. I'd go with Pickens or Nico. Probably go Nico Collins over Pickens at this point. You have an incredible team. Like, I definitely think your team is one that can overcome the Trevion Henderson Thursday night blow up. But I'm right there with you, my friend. I'm having to go up against Trevion Henderson's Thursday night game as well, which is why I'm really hoping we get a big Waddle performance in about 5 minutes. Now, Exp Food, quarterback between Allen and Stafford. Give me Allen. And honestly, it's not even remotely close. Gunner says, flex is a bit of an issue. What do you think, Lord? Tip my cap to you. I would go ahead and I'd play Woody Marks here. I think Woody Marks is a very compelling start, just given what you have. Like, here's one thing that's funny that I'll show y'all. With how well Woody Marks projects, because this Tennessee Titans matchup specifically, Woody Marks currently projects to score only 1 fewer point, according to Underdog Fantasy, than Jahmyr Gibbs. They have Woody Marks higher lower 12.75 fantasy points and Jahmyr Gibbs higher lower 13.85. Like, Woody Marks is for sure the start over guys like Worthy and Parker Washington. Now, Bruno, here for the flex, I would play Woody Marks over Rashaad White And then, yeah, I definitely play Woody Marks over like Xavier Worthy. Mark, appreciate you. Here we have either Kyle Monungai or one of the Seattle backs. I'd play Kenneth Walker and cry myself to sleep, and then obviously just jam in Bowers. Yeah, I'd play Kenneth Walker over Sharp and Kyle Monungai. Really wouldn't want to, though. Okay. Now, our next question is going to be from Joy Boy J. Here for the flex. I'd play Tracy. Yeah, I'd play Tracy over like the Seattle backs. I'd play Tracy over Worthy. Obviously, the Pats wide receivers already played, and I'd play Tracy over Kyle Pitts. Absolutely hate the matchup for Tracy going up against Green Bay. Should be a spot where it's hard for them to run the ball in the second half, of course. Okay. Now, Joe Zone. Here, running back between Walker, Tracy, and Kyle Monungai. I would go with Tracy. I'm not playing Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. And then for the flex, I'm going to go with Rome over Devonta Smith. But Devonta Smith is right there. Definitely do not consider a running back for your flex. But it looks like we're all caught up with the quick questions, so we can pivot back over and look at some more of these team reviews. This one's going to be from Playoff Vin. Says, Orphan, this team, it's horrendous. How can we save it? Okay, so here's the thing, my guy. I hate to say this. Hate to say this. But you are 100% screwed. I pray to God that you got a discount with this team, that they are not making you pay the full league dues this year and next year. Because you don't have this safety net anymore with this team. Of being able to go through and tear it down into a rebuild and just earn yourself the 101 in 2026 and the 101 in 2027. This team doesn't have its own 2026 first. This team doesn't have its own 2027 first. So, like, what can you do with a team like this? You have to burn it down. You have no shot at being competitive anytime soon. And if you don't have that 2026 first, if you don't have that 2027 first, you don't even have the option to go out and like earn the 101 either year. This team, if I'm going to be honest, your best running back, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. Your wide receiver 2 from a dynasty perspective is Jaden Reed. This team cannot compete until 2028 at the earliest. Nothing you can do until 2020. Nothing you can do makes this team competitive next year. You don't have your 2026 picks. You don't have your 2027 picks. Nothing you can do makes this team competitive in 2027 either. I would just immediately start selling off all these veteran assets for whatever you can get in the future. If you can down tier from Lamar and send him to a team that's actually competing, right? This team's 9-1. They don't have any future picks. But if you could down tier from Lamar and pick up Malik Neighbors and Caleb Williams, that contending team probably gives you Malik Neighbors and Caleb Williams, and maybe that's a value gain for you in the long run. The issue is this team here has every single rookie pick. This is the team that's going to dominate this league for the next decade. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2026 first. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2027 first. Including your picks both of those years, which your picks both of those years are going to be the 101. You joined an unwinnable league. I mean, it's winnable for certain teams in it, but the team you got, like, you need to start just tearing it down from the very, very stems and just like have nothing left over with it. Sell Flowers, sell Debo, like start selling Debo for a second and a third. But like the issue with you selling Debo for a second and a third is this one team has every pick and they're rebuilding. So you're not even going to be able to like, and this is the other team that has the rest of the picks rebuilding. And they're not sending you a second and a third for Debo. Like the contending teams up here don't really have any picks. So I'm just going to be completely honest. You joined an unwinnable league. You took on a team that gives you no shot to do anything until the very, very, very earliest 2028, which better hope that this team has its own 2028 picks. And I'm trying to think what you could even do from that point. I don't really know. Like, again, a starting deal like sending Lamar and getting back the combination of like Caleb and Malik Neighbors makes a lot of sense. But I don't see a path. You have to sell these guys like Diggs, Debo now, David Njoku now, because like they don't fit our timeline at all. In 2028, by the time you're going to be competitive, Stephon Diggs won't even be in the league. But I really appreciate you and hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. But the big thing is I hope that you do not have to pay those league dues anytime soon. Okay. And cool, man. Yes, we do need Waddle extremely bad. I'm going to pull up this game on my phone. Sounds like the game is starting. I'll make sure I rewind a bit. That way I don't spoil anything for y'all. But, okay. It looks like the Dolphins are going to have ball first. Hopefully we get some Waddle points here. Clark Kep says, any trade suggestions before the deadline on Monday? Okay. So we got the Allen family. We are currently the 8th team in terms of value, according to the league analyzer. But we are currently 7-3. And we've scored the 6th most points in this league. So obviously this is a team that can afford to think for the long term. This is a team that can afford to think for the fantasy playoffs. We have the elite quarterback with Josh Allen. Absolutely love to see this. In terms of it being a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, quarterback's going to make up pretty high percentage of your starting lineup output weekly. Going over and looking at running back, we have Javonte and Bucky Irving. So having Bucky Irving, obviously, really nice spot for us in weeks 15, 16, 17, as he's probably going to be back. Wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Waddle, Wandale. We lost Garrett Wilson. So wide receiver depth is a pretty big question mark. Jalen Waddle, big boy catch. Let's go. Tight end, we have Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz, and Dalton Kincaid. So my big thing that I'd say with this team is the depth is probably going to be the biggest concern. And I don't necessarily think that there is a trade that makes a ton of sense here. Like if we were thinking about what a trade could look like, what's the expendable piece that you have? Like what players on our bench that we don't necessarily need? Like we need every single one of these guys. So I would just go through and I would optimize the bottom end of this roster. Like there's no reason for you to be rostering Michael Wilson right now. I'd say this for a lot of y'all. If you have Michael Wilson on your team currently and you are not starting Michael Wilson, if you're not starting him when Marvin Harrison's not playing, you're definitely not going to be starting him when Marvin Harrison's back next week. So I would go ahead. I would cut Michael Wilson. I would cut one of the tight ends. Your call between cutting Kincaid or Schultz. Open up 2 different roster spots for you. I'd pick up Kenneth Gainwell and Byshell Tootin or Blake Corum if you'd prefer Corum, and give yourself the option of possibly going through and finding the next Rico Dowdle, finding the next running back that can be a must-start player every week. But trade-wise, I don't think there is a deal to be made. I think you're tied up really with the injuries that you have on this team where it kind of has just taken the depth out of things for you. But you're 7-3, so you don't want to be selling the injured players at a discount. Okay. Now, I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. And I know you're always out here in the stream, my guy. Okay. So let's move this over to our next question. This is going to be Ken Powell. Says, hey, Mason, I traded Javonte for Igbukah. And traded Quinshawn, Chase Brown, and Pittman to get Jamar. Did I make the correct moves? And also, how can we further improve the team? I've made some offers for quarterbacks and tight ends, but nobody is budging. Well, we are the 3rd best team in this league. We've scored the 5th most points. We are currently 4-6. Looking at these deals, like you paid a very hefty price, but the thing is, it is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So selling a bunch of depth pieces and going and getting an option such as Jamar Chase is a no-brainer when you have solid options on the waiver wire that you could pick up for free. And looking at these options on the waiver wire, like Jordan Addison is out there for free on waivers. So I would cut Alec Pierce and I would pick up Jordan Addison right now. It's a 2 receiver, 1 flex. So like your lineup as it stands, you're not starting Woody Marks ever. You're not starting Tetero McMillan ever. So I like the deals that you made. And my preference to the 2 that you made is I definitely prefer the Jamar Chase deal. Like I really like you going through and like trading multiple pieces and just getting the 1 stud in return. And I would say that obviously, that's what we want to be doing next. Like we cut Pierce, we pick up Addison. And if there's a world in which you can send Nico Collins and Daniel Jones and get Mahomes, get Lamar, get Allen, we would do so. If you can send Igbukah and Aronde Gadsden and get somebody back like Trey McBride, we would do so. If you could send Trevion Henderson and Gadsden and get back McBride, get back Bowers, we would do so. God, Miami freaking botching this and not getting Waddle any points. Those are the clear moves to be made because it's a 2 receiver, 1 flex league and you're sitting here with 4 startable running backs and 4 startable receivers and you're about to get a 5th startable receiver and we just go pick up Addison for free. So, I would really like us to go ahead and try to get that upgrade at tight end, get that upgrade at quarterback. Don't just try to send the bottom end pieces like Tetero and McMillan. That's not really going to be possible. It's going to be much easier to get a deal done if you're willing to include somebody like Igbuka to go and get that true elite quarterback, the true elite tight end. And you can do so because obviously we can just slide up one of the depth pieces at running back or wide receiver to the flex or at those positional marks. But I really appreciate you and hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. But let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be from Noah Thomas. Says, should we start Harvey or ETN this week? Not sure on Harvey's usage against the Chiefs, leaning ETN, but what are your thoughts? I have them ranked relatively close. I would rather have RG Harvey most weeks, but it's a tough matchup. ETN gets a good matchup against the Chargers. So I wouldn't fault you whatsoever if you wanted to go with Travis Etienne. Let me see what the projections are for these guys. Okay. RJ Harvey currently is higher or lower 11.115 points. Travis Etienne is higher or lower 12.5. So Underdog has Etienne as the better option. Again, I like Harvey more long-term than Etienne, but this week specifically with Harvey having that tough matchup, I think you can go ahead. I think you can play Travis Etienne. Quarterback, we have the combination of Bo Nix as well as Brock Purdy. We can play the matchups between these two QBs weekly. Like, we're A-okay to do so, right? This is going to be a format in which you start a total of 8 players. So the skill positional depth is going to matter a little bit more. Quarterback's going to matter a little bit less. Running back, you have CMC, RJRV, Travis Etienne, Tyron Tracy. So 4 startable running backs with the elite name. Wide receiver, you have 3 wide receiver ones with JSN, Rice, Nico, Metcalf. And then you even have Brian Thomas as your wide receiver 5. So while the skill positional depth here matters a decent amount, and I will also say drop Jaleel McLaughlin. I would rather have the handcuff running back Blake Corum, or I'd rather have the tight end with upside Colson Loveland. And you do have Kittle still having to go through the week 14 bye. So I think I would cut McLaughlin. I'd pick up Loveland. And then from that point, you are so loaded that honestly, you can go ahead and you could try to send like Nico Collins and Bo Nix and get yourself an elite quarterback. If you could get Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, I think you can afford to do so. Just because you have 4 running backs that are flexible. And even if you were to sell like Nico and Bo Nix and get back Patrick Mahomes, then wide receiver, you would still see JSN Rice at wide receiver, and you have Metcalf and Brian Thomas who are flexible. So I would just simply try to trade for an elite quarterback, because if you look at your team with the league analyzer, you're strong enough to do so. And you have the depth to do so as well, even though this is a league where depth matters. But I really appreciate you and hope I was able to help you out in some way. There, my guy. Now, let's move this over to our next one. That's going to be from C. Sturmer. It says, Laporta and Wilson out. I have offers for CMC trades to get more depth. One of them is CMC for Addison, Judkins, Kyron. I'd rather have CMC. The other is CMC and Allen for Dackworthy, Cook, and Bowers. I'd rather have CMC. I'm desperate but reluctant to trade at those values. Please help. So I understand this is going to be a league in which depth matters. And oh dear God, your team is garbage. I mean, it's not garbage. We are 6-4. We are 3rd in the league analyzer. So we have the 3rd most value with this team. But we have some garbage players currently inside our starting lineup. And the options on the waiver wire are just horrendous. It's not like a league where you can pick up Jordan Addison on waivers. We have the elite quarterback with Josh Allen. Running back, we have CMC and Devon Achane. So we have we have Rashaad Rice. We have 4 good players in a start 8 format. We lost Garrett Wilson. We lost Sam Laporta. So we just don't have the startable names here. My preference, to be honest with you, is I would actually look to sell Allen before I would look to sell McCaffrey. So I think you should be able to honestly sell Allen to a team that needs a quarterback and pick up multiple starters. Like, just going through and trying to find this, like a team that has depth. That's the main thing that you have to find, is a team that has the depth. This team has Troy Franklin as their wide receiver 5. So if you could down tier from like Josh Allen to Daniel Jones and pick up George Pickens and Tyrone Tracy, like George Pickens and Tyrone Tracy would both be upgrades inside your starting lineup. I think I'd look to do that. Obviously, I'd much prefer selling Josh Allen for Chase Brown and George Pickens. Maybe that would be my first offer, but we're going to expect them to reject. And you probably have to go down to Tracy. This team seems like they have some depth. I would offer them Josh Allen for Brock Purdy and Rico Dowdle and see what they say. So we can start Dowdle in the flex instead of Matthew Golden. I would offer this team Josh Allen for Dak Prescott and Javonte Williams. That team has Lamar. This team has a ton of depth. I would offer them Josh Allen for Baker Mayfield's, Jalen Warren, and Tataroa McMillan. Again, I don't know. If nobody is interested in buying Josh Allen and giving you multiple starting pieces in return, then I guess you can explore selling McCaffrey. But the trades that you've laid out, I would definitely prefer McCaffrey on them. But I understand why you'd be looking to make that move. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. But yeah, that's a brutal spot to be in with your depth. But another reason I'm fine selling Allen is if you look at the waiver wire, like Darnold is like one of the only viable players that is out there. And obviously that's at quarterback. Okay. Now, our next question from Jazz says, trying to see if we should make some additional trades. So this team is the number 1 team according to the league analyzer. We're also the number 1 team in points scored. We're 7-3, so we have the best record in this league. We've won 6 games straight. We have the second best quarterback room in the league. We have the best running back room, the 5th best wide receiver room, and the 2nd best tight end room. So I would say that some moves that I would want to make just right out the gate, there are some pretty interesting waiver wire pivots. I would cut DJ Moore for Alec Pierce. I would cut Bo Nix for Daniel Jones. Um, and then in terms of trades, like this is an incredible lineup, right? Because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where we are sitting with McCaffrey, Devon Achane at running back, wide receiver Rice, Ladd. You have Olave that you can throw in the flex. We don't have that much depth down below this, but I mean, Gadsden is flexible as well. I don't necessarily want to sell Gadsden. We have Kittle, who still needs to go through the week 14 bye. And like I said, I think Gadsden's somebody that we can throw in the flex if we really need to. Like this week, we're flexing Gadsden with Olave on bye, right? Going through and looking at what potential trade you could make, I don't see any. I love your roster construction. I don't think you necessarily have expendable value anywhere that you can just easily get rid of. So I would really want to leave this as is, to be honest. Again, really the only thing that I would do is I would cut Bo Nix, I'd pick up Daniel Jones, and I would cut DJ Moore, and I'd pick up Alec Pierce. Or you could cut DJ Moore, pick up Jordan Mason, just seeing if Aaron Jones gets injured this week. And if Aaron Jones doesn't get injured, then you can cut Jordan Mason and pick up Alec Pierce afterwards. But I really appreciate you. I think you have an incredible team. And I think that's a big reason why you don't necessarily need to do anything here, especially not trade-wise. But let me move this over to our next question. This is going to be from Butzer. Says, top of the league, had 2 really close losses. I know this isn't a championship ready team. What can we do to get it ready? We don't trust Diggs as our running back too. So this team is currently sitting at 8-2, right? So definitely we are thinking for the fantasy football playoffs here. And Sammy, you better believe I'm getting Jonathan Taylor. Better believe it's happening. But this is a playoff team. So we need to be thinking about what our lineup looks in the long run. And I don't know if you're getting Garrett Wilson back even for the playoffs at this point. They're saying they're expecting Garrett Wilson to come back this season, but they're really going to have no incentive to rush Garrett Wilson back, right? Okay. Looking at the starting lineup, our depth is kind of shot with the Garrett Wilson injury. Like long term, you are going to have Achane as well as Jonathan Taylor. Now I'm going to assume that there is some weird league setting here that's giving Devon Achane a projection of almost 28 points. So I don't know exactly what that is. I don't know if this has some point per carry element to it. I don't know what it could be, but like hell, Jonathan Taylor and Achane, running back 1, running back 2, very happy about. Wide receiver, we have Igbuka, Stephon Diggs. And then our flex options, Ricky Pearsall, I guess. And by the way, I'd probably start Pearsall over Christian Watson if I were you. And then tight end, we have Kittle, and quarterback, we have Baker. So here's the thing. I know maybe you're not super excited of having Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 2 and then Ricky Pearsall in your flex spot in the playoffs, assuming Garrett Wilson doesn't come back. But what's the alternative? Like, if we're looking at this setup, what potential value do you have that you could sell to get an upgrade? Embarrassing offer from Sal. Just straight up embarrassing. But what could you sell potentially to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup? I have no idea, my friend. I already rejected the offer. How can I see my rejected offers? Danny, if you let me know how I can see the rejected offers, I'll let you know what it was. It was like I send Barkley, Jacobs, Nico Collins, and get back Jonathan Taylor and Olave. Go to DMs. Direct messages. Yeah, this was the offer Sal sent that I rejected. Barkley, Jacobs, and Nico for Taylor and Olave. Embarrassing in my mind, considering what he offered the devs. He offered the devs something. He offered Jonathan Taylor half the price of the devs compared to that price. But yeah, I agree. I don't love having Stephon Diggs and I don't love having Ricky Pearsall in your lineup. But at the same time, I don't know what the alternative is, considering you have the Garrett Wilson injury. Like, if you could go through and if you could parlay Garrett Wilson and Ricky Pearsall or Garrett Wilson and Stephon Diggs up to like Nico Collins, go for it. But it's going to be much easier said than done. I think you're probably just leaving this team as is, to be completely honest with you. You're 8-2. You got Achane and Jonathan Taylor that you can start every single week. I think you're in a really good spot. Well, let me go ahead and send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with. Okay. And looks like we got official word. This is what I was kind of waiting on. But Keon Coleman is not going to be playing week 11. Keon Coleman is a healthy scratch. And in terms of other updates that we have that I'm sure you already saw, Brian Thomas not expected to play week 11. We've already moved him from the weekly rankings on the sites. And Drake London is expected to play. Bam Knight is expected to play. And Calvin Ridley is expected to play. Okay. Then he says, sounds like he's close on Nico Barkley. Well, I'll send him that offer over again. That's the offer I would have done, but okay. And Danny, fire you, I'd convince him to do it. If you can convince him to do it, you win the week. So I'll go ahead and I'll offer that over to him. Nico Barkley for JT. Danny, again, I would be in Sal's DMs chirping, telling him that he wins the deal. Because if I take Jonathan Taylor 0 this week, you pretty much get the guaranteed win against me. Now, K9 Rogue says, trying to optimize for the playoffs. Any suggestions would be much appreciated. Go Team of Destiny. Really appreciate you, my guy. Here right now, we are 7-3, right? So 100% we are thinking the right thing to go ahead and optimize for the final 3 weeks. We have the most points scored in this league. We have the best team in the league, according to the league analyzer. Going through and looking at this, McBride already through his bye week. In my mind, I wouldn't roster another tight end. I would cut Kate Otten, especially looking at the fact that Xavier Worthy is out there for free on the waiver wire. I would go ahead. I would cut Otten. I'd pick up Xavier Worthy for free. Quarterback, we have Mahomes, Caleb. Caleb is in an awkward range in which he's too good to tell you, yeah, you can just go ahead and cut him, but he's not good enough where you can sell him for much. Again, if you could sell him, you would. If you could send Caleb Williams as well as Rome Odunze to go and get to a wide receiver like Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, it would be an absolute no-brainer. Running back, we have Bijan, Javonte, Kyron, Woody, Mark. So you have 4 startable running backs. So another thing that you could consider, especially if you're thinking of potentially Trey Benson being viable here in the long run. You could go through and you could try to send one of the depth running backs like Kyron Williams and Deebo Samuel to get that wide receiver upgrade. So that would be the move that I would look to make. Obviously, selling Caleb and Rome would be an absolute no-brainer, selling Caleb and Deebo. But if you could also potentially go like Kyron and Deebo and pivot over to one of those top-tier wide receivers like CeeDee Lamb, it'd be an absolute no-brainer because you'd still have Woody Marks as a running back 3 that's extremely viable. You can open up a roster spot, pick up somebody like Xavier Worthy for free at that point, or I would still cut out and pick up Worthy, and then I'd use the extra roster spot to roster Kyle Monungai as a premium handcuff back, where if you were to get that injury to DeAndre Swift, he could turn into a league winner. But I think you have an incredible team, and because your team's so strong, I think you have the expendable depth where you very easily could go through and sell that running back depth piece to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup now. But I really appreciate you and hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. Now, I love how I laughed at somebody wanting to start Greg Dulcich earlier in the live stream, and now Greg Dulcich is out there balling. Now, Dustin Drip says, hey, Mason, I'm 6-4 and just trying to lock in the buy for a championship run. I've been trying to send a package of Rome, Brees, and Marv or AJ to solidify an elite option for my last flex spot. I know it's an overpay. Should I just hang tight through the deadline, or should I be aggressive with trades? Well, first off, let me go ahead and send you over some free questions, my friend. And I would agree. So here's the thing. This is an 8-team league, right? And we are the number 1 team in this league. So I already know from the very jump that every deal we make, we want to make sure that we are just getting the best player in said deal. Like, it doesn't matter if you're selling depth, because look at who's on our bench this week. Running back, you're starting Bijan Achane. Wide receiver, you're starting JSN Chase. Then you have Lamb and Rome in your flex spots. You have Brees, Kamani Vidal, Marvin Harrison, A.G. Brown all on your bench. So in my mind, it does make a lot of sense if you would be able to go through and if you would be able to sell guys like Marvin Harrison and A.J. Brown in this kind of league. I don't want to say meaningless, but they're pretty damn close to meaningless. Quarterback, we have Drake May, Jaden Daniels. So like quarterback's A-okay. I love May in a 12-team format, 8-team league. Is it the best team ever? Nah, no, but just fine. Looking at the waiver wire, I wouldn't really make any pivots here. Running back, we have Bijan, Devon Achane. So we have 2 elite RB1s. Brees is expendable. Rome's expendable. Marv's expendable. What I would consider doing is, I mean, if you could go through and send like, say, Marvin Harrison and Drake May and just get to a slight up tier at quarterback, get to Allen, get to Lamar, get to Mahomes, I would go ahead and I'd make that kind of move. And then I like the idea of rostering the premium handcuff backs here in an 8-team format where the ceiling matters more than the floor with these guys like Tyler Algier, Kyle Monungai, and Blake Corum instead of picking up like Troy Franklin, because how do you ever get Troy Franklin into a lineup like this when Marvin Harrison and A.J. Brown are going to be on your bench every week? So I would love to send Marvin Harrison and Breece Hall and get to a slightly better running back. I would love to send A.J. Brown and Breece Hall to get to a slightly better running back. Send Marvin Harrison and Drake May to get to a slightly better quarterback. Because, again, you have so much depth here that like it won't impact you in a negative way whatsoever if you were to get rid of Marvin Harrison on your team. Your starting lineup wouldn't even know the difference. Then looking at any other potential moves that you can make, I would say, obviously, if we have Bowers, Kelsey's expendable. Let's go through and let's sell Kelsey. But I don't think we should be able to, considering the fact that it's an 8-team league. How many teams really need Travis Kelce? But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. But I'm in 100% agreement with you that for that championship run, really the only thing to do is go through and try to send one of those depth wide receivers in a league like this with a roster like this to get that elite upgrade at a flex spot. Or even to move from like a solid QB1 to one of the true elite QB1s as well. But appreciate you, and I really hope I was able to help you out in some way. And I sent you over those free questions as well, just in case there's anything else that you wanted to follow up with. But let me log out and log back in just so we can make sure that we keep getting these questions answered. Okay. Now, this next question's from Excalibur. Here, tight ends between Dallas Goedert and Loveland. Give me Goddard. And then for the flex, I think you play Jordan Addison. Addison's in actually a pretty good spot this week. Richie says we are here for the flex. Between Javonte and Nico Collins, I think both are incredible plays. I'm starting Nico Collins myself. So I'm really hoping Nico Collins is the correct answer, but I would probably go Javonte with it being an incredible matchup against the Raiders. Now, Utany, here for the flex, it's Wan'Dale Robinson pretty easily. I guess you could consider Jameson Williams, but if you have Winston under center, you have no Slayton, you have no Neighbors, I think Wan'Dale's going to crush. Now, Chris, the QB, says, feel like I need wide receiver help, or do we stay put? No, 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 no. You do not make this deal. Even if you need help at wide receiver. Wide receiver, you're sitting with Waddle, Adams, and that's about it. So I'd agree, deeper league like this, you could look to pick up an additional I don't know. You could look to pick up an additional quarterback. I'm sorry, wide receiver, but you're not down tiering from Barkley to Woody Marks to get Stephon Diggs. I mean, maybe you down tier from Barkley to Woody Marks and get Justin Jefferson. Not Diggs, though. Come on. Can we get some Waddle points? What's going on here? Minglewood with a start sit. Here, quarterback, I'm going to place... actually, I'll go Hurts. Wide receiver, I think you have to go Pickens. And honestly, it's very easy. And if you needed a flex, your flex would probably be Shakir with everybody out in Buffalo. Okay. Now... moving over to our next question. This is Soggy. Here for the flex. I'm assuming you didn't already start Brees or you didn't start Henderson. I'm assuming we are looking at Metcalf, Smith, Addison, JMO, and Harvey. I'm starting Metcalf myself this week. I really do like the matchup that you have against the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, you have much better projections here for the Pittsburgh Steelers this week than what we're typically used to. Looking at my wide receiver rankings, I have Devonta Smith at 19. I have Metcalf at 21. So I have Smith 2 spots higher. I would definitely play them over Addison and JMO, but you could also consider RJ Harvey. Full PBR format, I probably go Devonta Smith because RJ Harvey has the tough matchup. Okay. Now, Mario Mon is trading RJ Harvey and Tyler Warren for Trey McBride. Running back, we have Jonathan Taylor and Travis Etienne, and that's it. So I think this is a very fair deal, and you can make this. It's probably the Trey McBride side, but I do think that RJ Harvey could actually be a great addition to your team. God, Tua running for his life. Can't escape. Now, Ant Do a lot says, I'm thinking about beefing up my running back room a bit. Is this solid or should I swap Wandale for Debo? London to Kyron downgrade. Wandale to Metcalf or Debo to Metcalf upgrade. Doesn't really matter. I would say in general, I don't think you're desperate enough to I don't think you're desperate enough to down tier from London to Kyron Williams, knowing that you have Marks and Kamani Vidal. Vidal is a short-term play here. I think maybe this is a deal that you can look at making next week if the Kyron usage looks more compelling. Now, Tate Ellison, here at running back, I'd go Javonte in a great matchup against the Raiders. And then in the flex, full PBR format, you can go Chase Brown. I'd probably start Derrick Henry on my own team, but Chase Brown's very compelling as well. Now, Kevo 3 here at quarterback. I'm probably going to go ahead and start, honestly, Purdy this week. Darnold, tough matchup. Wide receiver, you start Metcalf, Higgins, and then in the flex between Sutton and Rashaad White, it's close, but I think we actually end up going with White. Now, Tommy for the flex, you play Igbukah here easily. Not even really close. Egg Buka is just the jam. Okay, but I think we're all caught up on questions. So we may actually call the live stream here. Y'all saw last week we got to relax, laugh at the FSE guys spazzing. So I may go lay on the couch, play some Clash Royale, watch the rest of this Miami game. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's relevant to say, but much love. I'm wishing you the best of luck this week. And yeah, I'm excited to get some good food, get to lay on that couch, play some Clash Royale, and yeah, watch some football. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Really appreciate you. And really hope I get to see you out with the video or live stream. We'll see what we do later.